Nigeria back to its lost glory. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All
All
right.
right, Doc, talking about restoring Nigeria to its back to its lost glory. I think we can't do anything right in this country if we don't get our politics right. So let's start with what happened in the National Assembly recently, where the lawmakers passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Are you comfortable with the manner in which the issue of electronic transmission of results was handled by both chambers of Parliament?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. This is a form of legislative tyranny. It was not based on, widespread consultation with ordinary people, and particularly key stakeholders in the political system. It was not based on that, and it was based on horse trading. It was based on, smoke-filled chambers of intrigue. And it's clear that some people are already planning to rig the elections, no doubt. If we can do, transmission of money transfers through electronic means, a whole host of areas where we use, electronic transmission, why should it be so difficult about, elections? More so that INEC themselves have actually said that, yes, they are able to do it and to do it well, even in the remotest areas. There are satellite technologies and the rest of them that could be used for that purpose. So the motive is sinister, and it is very anti-democratic and against the public interest. Mr. President is well advised not to assent to such an iniquitous bill. It's an act of bad faith, and it will boomerang, no doubt, in the course of time.
Now, Doctor, if you say the president should not assent to that, even though we haven't gotten to that stage just yet, Nigerians are still expecting that probably at the conference committee of both chambers of the National Assembly, they may eventually change that clause. Very hopeful there. But then if they don't and it gets to the president, if you're saying the president shouldn't sign, there are also some other parts of that electoral act which would improve the electoral process if it is allowed to go, so that we don't go the other way of the year that president said, oh, it was too close to election and he didn't sign and we didn't get anything out of it. What do you think?
Sorry, I didn't quite get that point. Sorry, the last point you made. Can you repeat it?
No, I'm saying that if at the end of the day, maybe during the conference committee of the National Assembly, it happens that they did not change that clause, that it is left that way and it is transferred to the president for assent, you are saying the president shouldn't, right?
Yes, that is what it is, because no bill can become law until it is assented to by the president.
Yeah, so I'm saying that
under
that would
our
also.
So he has two options. He can throw it out, or he can refer it back for some change. That is the two options he's got.
Okay, that's what.
And I hope that he will do the right thing.
Okay, so let's leave that and go to other issues.
All right, Doc, let's have your view on the current security crisis in the country. Virtually every day we hear reported cases of banditry attack, terrorist attacks, kidnapping, senseless killings in parts of the country, particularly the northeast and northwest parts of the country. What's your evaluation of the situation? Is government making any progress in responding to these security challenges?
Well, it's a difficult topic for me these days because I've made my mind known on electronic media, on television, on radio, and I'm also a columnist, and I've written it in my columns. So I'm not sure what there is to say. There's also a big problem. You may have heard that NBC came out to say recently that kind of warning media groups not to report details. And I'm happy that media groups have virtually ignored that. I think it is a very iniquitous directive. It is like saying to media, please don't report Adolf Hitler when he's killing so many millions and gassing them in the gas chambers of Germany. Such a directive, in fact, says more about the person issuing it. And I'm glad it has been ignored. There is what is happening in Nigeria today that amounts to genocide. Just last week in Miango, in Plateau State, there are massive killings, burning down of homes. And these are the kind of things they are telling us not to talk about, not to report in detail. I know of a young man who's a reporter. He is almost having a mental crisis because it happened in his home area. He had to witness and report at close range. So this is going on. And this is the farming season. They are going about cutting down crops and cutting down. There was a widow the other day who was wailing about, they cut up all her crops. She's got no husband. It's from the farm that she does, but she fends and feeds her children and manages to pay for them to go to school. The people who do those kind of things have no soul and no humanity. They know neither God nor humanity. If they think they are doing it in the name of God, that God can only be Lucifer. It cannot be the God of Abraham that we all claim to worship. So it is not just there. Southern Kaduna, Atiap land, the week before last, for 2 weeks almost, they were killing and burning and razing down and raping. They've killed hundreds. When you hear them saying 5 people have died, you can easily make it 10 times because their game is to underreport and, if possible, to avoid reporting altogether. And that's why they're even instructing people like you and me not to report it, not to talk about it. What are they hiding? The good book says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You cannot live on lies. You cannot live on fabrications and falsehood. It is the truth that will set us free. And now they are saying that we should not report the truth. Instead, they want us to live in falsehood and in bondage. There is an incipient genocide going on in this country. And it is taking on an increasingly religious dimension. When General Dambazao comes out recently to say that there's no religious connotation, I think he is very, very wrong. And in any case, he has no moral position. He has no moral respect, as far as I'm concerned, to be saying what he is saying. He is totally wrong. One American religious organization has reported that in the last couple of years, more than 7,000 churches alone have been burnt down, and so many more. And when the UN reports that 345,000 children have been killed in the Northeast, 345,000. This is the UN, UNICEF. And in war, and this is a war we are in, more adults than children are normally killed because no sensible man in a war aims a gun at a child and shoots it, except Boko Haram, because they are really worshippers of Satan. They cannot be worshiping God. They're worshippers of Satan and Lucifer. So their God tells them to kill children, and they kill many more adults. So if 345,000 children alone have been killed, what do you estimate is the number for adults, for men and women?
All right, doctor.
And now let's spread it to the rest of the country. So the numbers that people are coming up with is staggering. We are now looking closer to 1 million than anything else of victims, in addition to 3 million internally displaced persons, and so many more dislocated, broken families, broken communities. This is what Nigeria has become today, a land of blood and iron, a land of tears, a land of sorrows.
Quite disturbing.
This is what our country has become today.
Yeah, quite disturbing.
And they are saying we should not talk about it. God, our God will judge them, this kind of human beings.
All right, doctor, quite disturbing statistics there, but let me take you back to what the president said during the Democracy Day interview he granted to one media organization. He did say that when we talk about crisis, some of the issues you've raised, of course, they've been given different names, unknown gunmen, kidnappers, abductors, and all of that. And then you also have the issue of the suspected headers who also attack farmlands, like you rightly said, in Plateau State. But the president did say then that Fulani herdsmen with AK-47s that are killing in Nigeria are from Mauritania and Central African Republic. And that makes one wonder that they look more like Nigerian Fulani, so it's difficult to differentiate between them. And one is tempted to ask, in a country, a sovereign nation, where foreigners come in freely with AK-47, going by what the president said, and they kill citizens, and they go away and come back and kill again, and it continues on like that. Is it that there is nothing the government can do to address the situation if indeed these killer headsmen are foreigners?
You know, when Mr. President says such a thing, I don't know whether he is trying to offer a rationale as to why they can't do anything about it. If it is, then it is a failure of government. And he knows the right thing to do when you know that your capacities are limited, your capabilities are non-existent. You know the right thing to do in a civilized democratic country. I don't like to hear such things. Number two, in the recent case of Miango, just a few days ago, there is evidence from this reporter I was speaking to that military vehicles were literally carrying you call them herders. They are militias. They are Fulani militias. They are literally picking them in hillocks to the villages. And when they finish the killings and atrocities, they are shipped back on the same hillocks, owned by military people and taken away. In a country like this, with hillocks and other logistic support for them, we are only left with one conclusion, that, the authorities know more than they are telling us about these atrocities. I gave a talk in Belgium a few years ago, and I asked them, if you are in Belgium and then suddenly some foreigners turn up in the rural part of Antwerp or Bruges, these are Belgian towns, with sophisticated weapons, they start killing villagers and raping. What do you think the Belgian government will do? They went berserk. The Belgian government will deal massive blows to them before finding out what brought them. A foreigner, when he comes into your country with military-grade weapons, you have to treat him as a combatant in war. He has declared war, ipso facto, and your duty is to shoot him before he shoots you. That is what you do in a civilized country, before you even find out what brought him. Just the fact of owning a military-grade weapon and he crosses into your territory, you have to face him in military combat without even finding out. This is what Buhari did in 1982. when he was brigade commander in the Northeast. When Chadian rebels made an incursion, he did not wait on President Shehu Shagari. He mobilized troops, went for them, chased them out. Of course, the civilian administration was complaining, oh, you know, who did he get orders from and so on. But majority of Nigerians supported him. That is the Buhari we knew and we respected. The one of today, we don't know him. We don't even know who he is. He is not the Buhari that we knew. This one is something else. We don't know what it is. So that is the reality of our situation. What you do when you face foreign combatants is to defend your territory first. You chase them to wherever they came from, and under international law, the law of hot pursuit even allows you to go into their territory in order to nail them in their rat holes. That is what is decent and serious government.
All right.
Not to offer alibis, not to offer rationalization.
All right.
So they are foreigner. So what? Do they have diplomatic immunity? Anybody that comes into your country with military-grade weapons is ipso facto an enemy combatant. And
all right.
The laws of military war apply in such cases. So everything, we conclude that really some people are probably importing these people deliberately to come and kill and maim and rape Nigerians on a staggering scale.
To gain what
so
then?
Those of us
many would ask.
Who speak out.
All right, Dr. Malaifa, let's
we are patriots.
Let's move on. Still on, still talking insecurity.
You know, this is the reality, and it's a failure on our part. It's a failure of our government. It's a failure of our military. It's a failure of our authority. If you can't do anything about it, clear road, so that those who know how to fix these issues will come up and fix them.
Okay.
Nigerians are no longer going to be patient. They're no longer going to wait. And if they think that such a tiny minority can kill people on such a staggering scale and get away with it, then they need to wake up. Because Nigerians are Nigerians, and some of us who have lived in this land for thousands of years, it is not by mistake that we are who we are. We were never conquered. The Fulani Jihad that came in the 19th century never conquered us. As a matter of fact, Kwara people were ruling Kano for almost 200 years. It is we that conquered Ariwa, that conquered the Far North, not the other way around. It is the British that came and said, oh, these people look a bit like us, you know, they look a little bit fairer, they have sharp aquiline noses, therefore they must be the aristocrats. How can an illiterate rule over a civilized person? This is against the law of nature, and it's against the law of God itself.
All right,
so, I have
Dr. Malaifa, let's...
what I hate is killing of innocent, defenseless people.
Let's move on. Let's move on, Dr. Malaifa.
Unarmed and defenseless people. We will stand for them. We will never waver. We will never surrender. It is they that will put to shame. And the judgment of history, the judgment of God, and the judgment of humanity will be relentless on these wicked atrocities. Oh, I hate it with my whole soul and being.
All right, Dr. Malaifa, let's move on, still talking insecurity. Recently, the Air Force authorities in Nigeria confirmed that bandits actually downed our fighter jets, leading to calls on the federal government to declare bandits as terrorists. Are you surprised that the authorities have yet to do so? And secondly, do you see an ethno-religious dimension to the security threats the country is currently facing, and how the authorities are tackling it?
No doubt. Let's be very honest. All of us have been losers in this thing. Some of the worst affected include areas like Zamfara, Katsina, Birningwari, they've all been affected. Everybody has been affected. But there is an ethnic and even racial dimension. The people in Zamfara, including some of their emirs, they are not Fulanis. And so they are fair game. Birningwari, most of them are Baji, who are also Muslims. So they are fair game because they are not Fulanis. So there is a Fulani dimension. They want hegemony, they want conquest, and they have this delusion that God gave Nigeria, the whole of Nigeria, to the Fulanis, not just even the Fulanis of Nigeria, to the Fulanis of the whole world. It's a mad delusion. And a maximum population of 5 million, if they think they can lord it over the rest of us, then they are living in a madhouse. Because the day of reckoning is coming. And no doubt they will eat the dust of their own wickedness. There is even a dimension of even where the Hausa people, they've made it clear, the indigenous Habbe Hausa people, whom the Fulanis derogatorily regard as Kado. Kado means, a plebeian of the worst sort, the hoi polloi, they refer to them as Kado. And in the 19th century, even the Hausa king of Zaria, who was praying in a mosque, the Fulanis came and took him while he was praying, cut off his head, beat him up like a dog, and cut off his head. A lot of people are saying now that they will no longer accept that, and that the original Habbe rulers of Hausa land, who founded flourishing cities, they created mosques. The current mosque of Zaria, of Kano, which is one of the most impressive, was built by a Hausa king, not a Fulani king. The Fulanis don't build anything. You look around, you don't see any monuments belonging to them. They're only good at taking over what others have done. But they will fail in this country because they are just merely using religion.
All right, Doctor.
They're merely using religion. Some of us have families, half are Muslims, half are Christians. We live in harmony. And we will never fight each other. Never. Never in this life. So people coming from strange lands, and that is why they kill and they rape with no iota of humanity, because the land really doesn't belong to them. They're usurpers in this land. I have visited Guinea, which is the original land of the Fulanis. Guinea and Futatoro in Senegal. In Guinea, the Fulanis are the majority population. Their population is about 42 million, 42%. But the other 68, the other 58 have made sure that they will never allow them to rule, because they said the day they allow them to rule, all of them will become slaves. I have spoken to some of the Fulani leaders. Seydou Dalein was prime minister at some stage. They are presidential prime, very, very gifted economist. I interacted with him when I was in Guinea-Conakry. I know them very well. I understand where they're coming from. And in some ways, I sympathize with massive discrimination against Fulani in their homeland, original homeland of Conakry. And because of that, their attention has turned to Nigeria, that if they cannot be the rulers in their own homeland, Nigeria is where God has given them. But they are making a big mistake, because they are dealing with cultures and civilizations that are very ancient. If you look at the Middle Belt and Southern Kaduna, it was the homeland of the Nok civilization, which is as old as ancient Egypt. In fact, it has direct linkages in terms of religion, culture, and spirituality to ancient Egypt of the pharaohs. Who knows, I might have been a pharaoh in my previous life. So these people are joking, they're jokers, and they will never succeed.
All right,
they
Doctor.
will be disgraced, and they will be judged harshly. by God, by humanity, and by history. No doubt about it.
All right,
And when
Doctor.
I say these things, I don't say them out of hate or out of spite. I have never hated anybody in my life. I'm an intellectual. I have no business hating anybody. But my intellectual perspective tells me to analyze every situation critically and scientifically, and to come out with the results and the implications of the social phenomenon that we see around us. That is my approach. And if I call evil by its name, I'm sorry, that is the way I'm made. I cannot tell lies, and I cannot see light and call it darkness, or see darkness and call it light. That is the reality of who some of us are. We are patriots. We don't believe in violence. Never have I ever accepted or preached violence, and I never will. So, but the reality is, this thing is evil. This thing is a jihad. This thing is genocide. They have killed so many people, raped so many women. Recently, I was told, the wife of a pastor was raped by 200 people when she was taken into captivity. Forced marriages, and they call it jihad.
All right, quite pathetic there. Okay, Dr. Malaifa,
God forbid.
There is this understanding in some quarters that the authorities do know what to do to address the situation, but probably lack the political will to do it. After all, when the government wants to clamp down on people who are, preaching self-determination, talking about being not feeling a part of the country, and they want to be on their own, or they want a different nation. They want to go their way, really, believing that this union isn't working, and government wanted to get at them. They knew exactly how to get to them, talking about the Nnamdi Kanus, the Igbos of this world. But when it comes to the people who are killing and maiming people, we are yet to see a particular case, that is a particular person that is apprehended and taken to court, and is being or has even been dealt with for killing many people. So does that mean that the government is looking the other way when it's supposed to actually tackle this issue head-on?
Well, I wish just looking at the other way was just the issue. Some people are beginning to understand from the body language of this administration that, not only do they know what is happening, it is probably part of their agenda. And I told you about Miango, where the military were caught supplying logistics and actually lifting these killer militias to the villages where they kill and slaughter and rape and burn down everything. And then they wait for them, they rush into the hillocks, and they are carried away to safety. And then they actively block the youths when they try to fight them off. They block them and, in fact, kill them. So what conclusion are we to draw from that? That this evil has the tacit approval of people that we actually elected into office. You mentioned Ohamadike Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho. They are simply in the business of defending their people. What would you do if you were a sane human being and they've infiltrated your land? They've killed so many. I once gave a lecture 2 years ago in one of these new private universities in Edo State, near Ekpoma, and Uromi. So the driver was driving like hell, and I became panicked. He says, Oga, that's the only way to drive. And the road was so bad. He said, look, the Fulani militias own this area. They've driven all the villagers away in that area. And they've taken over the forests. And anytime, from time to time, they just come up. Whoever is unlucky, they stop them, they kill them, they rob them, and so on. So I spent 3 days, I delivered a convocation lecture at the university. And 2 days after I came back, a professor of medicine from the University of Malaifa, he went to supervise medical students' examination, I think to invigilate or to sit on, on exams, to validate exams at Ekpoma, the medical school at the University of Ekpoma. When he was way back, this professor of medicine, a young man, very, very brilliant, was butchered like a ram. They didn't know who this gentleman was. They saw him in a car with a driver. They killed them, robbed him. A professor of medicine, how many children will this man have saved in the course of his career as a surgeon? How many medical doctors would he have raised through his talent and his knowledge? And he was just wasted like that. So this kind of random nihilistic violence, people like Sunday Igboho have decided that they are not having it. I have my reservations about the methods, but I can perfectly understand where they're coming from. And by the way, the right to self-determination is enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of the United Nations, 1948. And the right to self-defense is enshrined in our law books. It is enshrined in our Constitution. And it is in conformity with international law. International law is very clear. Any group of people or community that face an existential threat to their very survival have not only a moral duty, they have an obligation to take such steps as are necessary to secure their communities, the lives and properties of their communities. And it is also enshrined in natural law, natural justice, and universal global ethics.
All right.
So they are within their rights.
Dr. Malaifa.
And
Dr. Malaifa,
cannot arrest and want to deal with people like that when the killers, people who brought down a fighter jet the other day, they are going about scot-free. Nobody's arrested. If they are arrested, orders come from Abuja to let them go. I can assure you, go to any of our roads, and if you know an incident, you tell police, they'll tell you, we are told never to arrest Fulanis or even to, so that one you're on your own. So they are above the law. They are the Fulani militias are the only people allowed to carry AK-47 publicly. If you carry even a den gun, they will come and confiscate it and you'll be in trouble. And often they go in, the military and the authorities go in, they seize the den guns, even machetes that you need for your farm, they'll seize everything. And then the next day, they allow these people to come and kill, to come and rape. Nobody's calling to law. And then thirdly, hundreds of villages in the middle belt have been taken over by these Fulani militias. In fact, some of the villages have even been renamed. They've reduced them. Let me assure you, it is only a matter of time. Every single one of these villages will be returned to their original owners. Every one of them. They will not get away with it. It's only a matter of time.
Dr. Malaifa, as we begin to wind down this conversation, as we begin to wind down,
the authorities know that, look, this was a village owned by Bachama people, or owned by Biron people, or owned by Miango people, or owned by Tif people, or Idoma, or Agatu people. And then the next day, they are being occupied by foreigners. And we understand the Hausa language better than most Hausa people. I know when somebody is speaking Hausan Kano, Hausan Zazao, and so on. Hausan Niger and Hausan Chad is very raw and very different. So we know that these are not even Nigerians. They come, kill people, take over their land, and we're supposed to accept it and live with it.
Okay, Dr. Malaifa, just before we go,
even the president came to Benue.
A moment, Dr. Malaifa.
After the governor buried 70 of his own people. 70 of his own people. all the president said is, learn to live with your neighbors. What an insult to injury.
All right, Dr. Malaifa, some people, have said that we don't need these separatist agitations, arguing that, Nigeria is better off united. As we go, what do you think, what steps do you think can be taken, by governments to make every Nigerian, irrespective of religion and tribe, to feel comfortable within a united Nigeria?
I describe myself as a public intellectual. And I don't say that out of arrogance, but with all humility. And that means that I understand the grandeur of Islamic civilization. There was a time that the Muslims were the most educated people on earth, far ahead of Europeans, far ahead in many ways of the Chinese even. Ibn Sina, Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Razi, Ibn Al-Farabi. These are some of the greatest mathematicians. Even algebra came from a great Arab Muslim mathematician called Al-Jabir, from which he invented algebra. The number 0 that is used in calculus and complex mathematics, numerical analysis, was invented by the Muslims. So we are not here trying to denigrate Islam or true Muslims. So we have to we can learn from everybody, learn from each other, learn from everybody. So it is not about sentiments whatsoever. But if you ask me personally, to be honest with you, and this is what I tell my Indigo friends, that God doesn't make mistakes. It was even Albert Einstein, the greatest scientist of our 20th century, who said that God does not play dice with the universe.
All right,
God
Doctor.
didn't make a mistake in putting us all together as one country. He is doing a great thought experiment. He is trying to see whether out of this motley of tribes and communities and faith groups, we can create a harmonious and progressive nation.
And we do hope we will create that harmonious
honestly,
and progressive
I'm still a believer
as we continue
Nigeria. But I can never say
to tolerate
united
each
Nigeria
other.
at all costs.
Doctor, that's the much we can take on this particular topic. Yeah, we thank you sincerely for your time and your thoughts on the issue. Dr. Obadiah Malaifa there. Unfortunately, we'll have time to continue to interrogate these issues. Yes. Doctor, can you hear me?
Yeah, they're forcing it.
Dr. Malaifa?
Forcing it. Trying to
Dr. Malaifa, we want to appreciate your time on the program this morning. Your perspectives and the thoughts are well noted. Dr. Obadiah Malaifa, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, has joined us this morning to look at the state of the nation. Insecurity, separatist agitations, self-determination, all of these issues he has been able to canvass this morning in this conversation.
Now the passion with which he's speaking and almost not being able to stop tells you how really he wants Nigeria to get back on track.
All right,
and get back
Kakaki, the African Voice, will go straight now to our second talking point. And of course, we'll be looking at recent happenings within the fold of Nigeria's main opposition party, that's the People's Democratic Party, PDP. We'll be joined shortly by the Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Kola Olobodinyo. That conversation comes up in a moment.